Welcome to the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. This episode is brought to you by Authors Unite. Authors Unite makes the process of becoming a published best-selling author as simple as sipping your morning cup of coffee. You can learn more about Authors Unite at authorsunite.com. Now, let's jump into the episode. All right, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Business Blast podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Wagner. Today I have Carissa Hill with us. She is a serial entrepreneur, author, international speaker, and business coach, specializing in helping women business owners scale and grow their businesses to 7 figures and beyond. So welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Of course. Grateful to have you here, Carissa. We'll dive into the first one. The first question I have for you is, what is the best story from your life that has an underlying valuable message?
Yeah, I have 2 answers for this, if that's okay. They're both quite quick ones. One is, I guess the best story is when I got pregnant, I suddenly decided to take my time very seriously because I had a deadline of 9 months to get my shit together to reach the goal that I wanted to reach in that time. And in that time frame, I employed my husband. I went all in on the marketing and sales. We scaled to almost 7 figures in that 9 months. And then after I actually had my baby, we took my business to 1.5 million, simply because I got extremely disciplined with the way that I spent my very limited chunks of time and was focusing on the right thing. So that's definitely been one thing that's had a massive, massive impact. And the other story is that I shaved all my hair off. I used to have really long hair and I shaved my hair, well, not all my hair off, I kept some, in March of this year, actually. After years and years and years of it just getting thinner and thinner and thinner, I was actually diagnosed with androgenetic alopecia, which is a genetic female hair loss condition where your hair just keeps getting finer and finer. And that's actually been one of the best things that's ever happened to me because it forced me to get extremely vulnerable and really accept myself for how I am and for who I am, and to focus more on my strengths and the things that I do love about myself, and to let go of all of the things that I just really can't control. And so those have been 2 of the best things in my life that have had the most positive impact on my business.
Yes, thank you for sharing both of those. We appreciate it. The next one I have for you is, what is the most valuable piece of information we should know that's within your expertise or industry?
Yeah, so I teach online marketing. So Facebook marketing is one of the biggest things that I focus on, and also growing a business to be able to run without the owner in it. And I think the most valuable piece of information is that the actual human connection that you have with your audience, with your team, with your clients, and the relationship with them and your followers online is more important than just marketing. And I think a lot of people think about marketing as techniques and tools and targeting and copy and all of that kind of stuff, whereas I honestly believe that it's the real connection that you have with the people that will have the biggest impact.
Yes, I could not agree more. Relationships and connection with people, I think, are the number one thing. So the next thing I have, and maybe it ties in, but what's your best piece of overall business advice? So not necessarily industry specific.
Yeah, the best piece of business advice I was ever given was from a mentor, not someone that I worked with, but someone that I looked up to. And he said, get comfortable with your worst case scenario, because if you can be comfortable and accepting of what the worst thing is that could possibly happen, then you can just go ahead and do it anyway because you've let go of the fear.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that was actually one of the biggest things that helped me when I dropped out of school 6 years ago to start my own business. And it was I had high anxiety and it was freaking me out at first because I didn't know what I was going to do really. Yeah. And then I realized, I'm what is the worst thing that could happen? And then it hit me. I was well, the worst thing that can happen is I fail, I end up back at my parents, and then I try another business. So I think, and
that
then
was the exact same for me.
Yeah, right. And I was like, you know what? My parents' house is pretty sick. There's like a pool there. I'm like, that's really not that bad. So I was like, I think I can handle that. So then, I don't know. It ended up working out, but even still, it's like I think we let our minds race off to like imaginary places that really it's not going to be that bad. So, the next one I have for you is, if you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would that be?
Probably stop thinking you know it all and know enough, because you don't. There's always more to learn. I think one of the mistakes I made in my early years of business was thinking I knew everything, and that I didn't need help and I didn't need to read books or do courses or have coaches. But I guess when I finally got over myself, I realized that, oh my God, you can learn so much from other people and there's always more to learn.
And it kind of goes along with that Ralph Waldo Emerson quote, where it's like you can learn something from any. I'm going to butcher it, but from any person. And I agree with that. No matter a homeless person, no matter who they are, I believe you can learn something from everybody. So the next one, kind of going a different path. In your opinion, what is the key to happiness?
Yeah, so for me, I classify myself a pretty happy person these days. Like, not much can upset me, and that comes down to acceptance of what you can and can't control, non-attachment, which I've actually got from Buddhism, practicing non-attachment, so not being attached to expectations or specific outcomes, and just kind of be grateful for what is, and coming from a place of love with everything that you do in your personal life and your business. So I try and always pre-frame myself in every situation that I'm going into to set the intention to come from a place of love rather than any other emotion, and it makes a really nice life.
And what is the best book that you've read, and what was the number one thing you learned from that?
My favorite book is The Go-Giver by Bob Berg. It just had a really profound impact on me, and probably the best thing that I learned from that was that the more you give, the more you receive, and it really had a high emphasis on giving. So being in online business, with my content marketing, as soon as I put more of a focus on what I can give rather than what I want to get, my business exploded.
And what is your favorite quote and why?
Favorite quote's actually from that book, and it is, "Your true worth is determined by how much you give in value than receive in payment, or then accept in payment," because it reminds me of the reasons why I'm doing what I do.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on. The last question I have for you before we let you go, I'm sure a lot of our audience members are curious, is where's the best place for them to find and connect with you online?
Yeah, the best place probably my Facebook group called Coffee with Carissa. We've got about 16,500 people in there at the moment.
Awesome. Perfect. Thank you again for jumping on.
Thanks, Tyler.
The podcast you just heard was published with Anchor. Got something you want to say to the creator of this show? Send them a voice message using the Anchor app, free for iOS and Android.